Digital Hospitality. I'm your host, Sean Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ Media production. We are live streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We appreciate you guys for following the show. If you're new to the show, welcome. We believe all businesses need to be digital first. And we also believe that every business is in the hospitality business, whether they know it or not. We believe in storytelling across all channels, and we couldn't do this show without you guys, the audience. You guys have been supporting this show since 2017, since it was Behind the Smoke. And now we do multiple shows. We have a show on entrepreneur called Restaurant Influencers. We do a Rising Tides live call so that you, the listener, the viewer, can join us on stage, work on storytelling. But the way that we get guests on this show, specifically Digital Hospitality, is through people we like, people we trust. And Dan Diaz of F3 Tech, he gave me a text that said, Zenon McHugh has to come on the show because this guy, not only is he our financial and accounting wizard, he's crazy enough to get into the restaurant bar business himself, and he owns Twisted Shamrock Pub. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
And how much prep did we do before you get on the show?
I don't know, about 5, 10 seconds.
You had no idea we were podcasting. You had no idea we were live streaming, but we are a storytelling podcast. And I think part of what I love about internet storytelling, where we are in 2025 and beyond, is that we have access to technology. We have YouTube, we have Spotify, we have TikTok, LinkedIn, we have all these platforms, yet very few people are taking advantage. And the ones that are taking advantage get to build deep communities and connections. I remember opening up my restaurant, I thought I was all alone. Like, I thought me and my business partner, we were like, we're going to figure this thing out. Like, there's no way there's anyone else as crazy as I am. And as soon as we started creating content on the internet, I'm like, wait, there's other crazy people in San Diego. And there's also crazy people in Vegas. And there's also people that are trying to get it done in Chicago. And like, sure enough, the same people, the bar in Bulgaria where my wife is from, we're all kind of the same. We're all trying to figure out how to build profitable, sustainable businesses that we're excited about. What made you decide to get into the bar business?
So I started my career about 20 years ago in accounting and tax. And so on paper, I'm a federally licensed IRS enrolled agent. I have a master's in taxation, and I've been helping small businesses in this sector, or in just any sector across small business for 20 years. And probably the biggest concentration, if I were to have a concentration, was culinary and hospitality
Hmm.
institutions. So not only bars and restaurants, but also food services. Doing everything from RFPs and contract negotiations with the airports, with different higher education institutions, and then of course just the mom and pop operators who are, hey, how do I do the sales tax? How do I payroll? Am I going to do payroll versus contract labor? And one of the areas that I would get roped into was tax planning, right? Because that's what I do is tax planning, tax strategist. How can I maximize the ability of saying, hey, I have this building, I have this real estate, plus I have this business in here, and so I would go deep dives into everything from, okay, well, buy the real estate, rent it from yourself, move over, if you have an S corporation, avoid paying self-employment tax, being able to push over active to passive income so that you can avoid, paying Social Security, Medicare, but at the same time having some type of reasonable compensation. So going through that rabbit hole was like, okay, well, now I'm preaching this, and I'm preaching real estate, and I'm preaching the different ways of how to use analytics, and big data to understand how to serve, this product. And when we had an opportunity come up in our neighborhood, which I'm pretty heavily involved. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce. I have two businesses. I live here. I have a lot of family members here. So I'm a very community driven person. So tons of money spent on to the local, grammar schools, the Little League Park District,
Yep.
the parades. Like we do a lot in there. And so when the opportunity for the real estate came available, I actually cared more about the real estate than I
Interesting.
did just for the bar. And my original concept was I wanted an all day cafe, which is still a little bit newer of a concept, but we're very close to Midway Airport. There's about 8 hotels. And a lot of times you got to check out by 10, 11 o'clock. I'm like, well, before you go to hotel or before you go to the airport and spend 20 bucks on a drink, swing by Twisted, right? And then or and it was like, hey, can we have some food? Can we have some coffee? Well, dealing with my beloved city was a little bit more difficult than I thought. And so we gave up on the idea of the kitchen and just kept it to the tavern. So not only have we transferred our tavern liquor license, we have officially got our patio license, and right now we are probably about a couple weeks out from our PPA, which is a public place of amusement license to showcase live music. And for somebody who has a tavern license, that's a trifecta. Because a
That's
lot of
amazing.
times you need incidentals, or a lot of times you need to have food in the restaurant
Yep.
in order to get that. Or we were able to navigate through. Again, I do paperwork all day long. And so, using my background with accounting and business services, I was able to double down, get the real estate, get all the appropriate licenses, and be able still to maintain a community gathering spot. So, for me, it was doubling down on the community and giving them something that wasn't necessarily here, with still being able to help me, supplement my other business.
Can you bring me back to opening day?
Anxiety, didn't know what we didn't know, trying to figure out, because we were on a management agreement at the time. And so when we took over, we didn't quite have all of the contracts in place. So we're like, okay, it's got to work. So we own the building, but we were under a management agreement because we couldn't technically transfer the liquor license in time. So we had to go through a whole moratorium statute. And so opening day was my uncle and I. My uncle and I has been in this industry for 25 years. And he's always been kind of on the other side of the bar. I'm in the back office, kind of armchair quarterbacking. He's been the operations guy, and so of course there's a little bit of a butting of head, the way I want to
Yeah.
do things versus the way he wants to do things. And his is more of a vibe and like make sure everybody feels good customer service. And I'm like, yo, 20%. I don't want anything less than that. But opening day was great. We didn't we kind of did a soft launch and never really did opening day. We did a
Yep.
soft launch for nearly a year,
Yep.
and we gathered information, and then after our 1 year anniversary we called that our grand opening. And that was we had people come all around state that celebrate us, and to make sure that we stuck to our brand, because that was a big deal for us, sticking to a brand. We didn't do any $2 you call it, we didn't um, uh, reduce our product, we didn't reduce our name just to get people in there, even though we were taking a huge loss. Those
Hmm.
first 9 months was brutal. I've been part of restaurants and bars and other business startups, but this one definitely didn't turn as fast as I kind of anticipated. And so it took us a
Yep.
long time. And then we finally, started changing, and people started showing back up, and people were seeing what we're doing in the neighborhood. And people were seeing that, hey, if they want to be part of the 21 and drunk and under crowd, they can go over here. We're not messing around with that. We have a different target market. You
Yep.
want to be able to go have a good cocktail, enjoy your old fashioned, maybe only have two, three of them, get out the door. You can stay for as long as you want, but we're not looking to sell, the 25 shots to somebody to go puke outside. So I think that keeping that brand has led us for that soft opening for a year to get the data analytics, and then finally be able to do the grand opening. So our grand opening was a little different.
The subjective feeling as somebody that deals in numbers, that advises in numbers, can you walk me through kind of that fear and that anxiety? Because it's something that once you have that physical location and you have hopes and you have dreams and you're excited and you're building and you're like, why is like I've seen this on a balance sheet. Like I've seen struggling businesses on a balance sheet, but like this one's right in front of my face.
Yeah, so I have this as a two-prong approach. One, the real estate was the most important thing to me. Across
Yep.
the street, there's a city called Bedford Park. It has major, major, major redevelopment going on right now. There's a Wyndham
Yep.
Hotel. There's a Wintrust Sports Complex. The WNBA has just committed, and they're starting to break ground on a 40,000 square foot
Wow.
facility. There's a
Sweet.
Moretti's restaurant. There's a car wash. There's a truck stop. This is all within like 500 yards of me, and only one of them is fully done. And so I was able to see the capacity for a need, with all these hotels going up and not like a true little place, and what I believe was a little bit of an undervalue in the building and the tavern. So when I looked at it, I thought, worst case scenario, what would this thing cost me if I were to hold it, if I didn't open the doors, right? And so how much was it going to cost me to buy the building, pay it monthly with the overhead and all that, versus how much is it going to cost me to get these things up and running? So when I
Yeah.
looked at the balance sheet, I go, okay, well, I think I can afford it if I don't open the doors. I just sit and hold the real estate. And then it was no, I wanted something more. And so I looked at, everything from the benchmarks to the costing to, what we could be doing, and honestly spent way more money than we anticipated. We didn't get the grant that we thought we would from the city of Chicago. And so when I'm looking at the P&Ls, I'm looking at the balance sheet, and of course, my hair went faster than ever. And and again, I've done this for years, and so it shouldn't have been a surprise to me. I'm just like, what the fuck did I just do?
Why?
Why
Why?
did I do? Why did I blow it all up?
Why would
Um,
I do this to myself?
and you know what? At the same time, I probably couldn't be happier. I have my own place. I can bring clients there. I can bring neighborhood people there. I have a place that I can pass down to my son. And so there was even planning and future planning. I have a few things set up like trust, right? And so it
Yeah.
passes on. I have a business partner. So, we have a buy-sell agreement in place for his kids and my son and stuff of that nature. So, me being able to capitalize on my actual career, I think made me a smarter investor in this project because I don't know how to make a great drink. He does, right? But I know how to get through the paperwork. I know how to
Yeah.
do all the licenses. I know how to look at the taxes. I know how to use the tax code and depreciation laws in order to maximize our tax reduction so that we can get money back on a tax return, even being business owners. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of those little intangible things that I think that I had a little head start on than most people would when they enter the sector.
What are the some of the things that you see or you advise your clients, the most successful ones that own restaurants and bars? What
Buy
do
the,
you see
bu-
them what do you see them doing?
Buying the real estate.
Buying the real estate.
That would be my very first one, buying the real estate and then actually have it reviewing the numbers on a weekly basis. I'm not saying that, to be, gung ho and, fire people over numbers, but check them, check your inventory and check your numbers. Like, for example, we have three ways of making money by me. One, we have a rental. We charge a rental for the room, very minimum. We have merchandise, which is, the hats, the shirts, stuff like that, very minimum. 95% of our business is done through our liquor inventory.
Yeah.
Well, if I go and I'm missing 5 bottles of something, that's out of my pocket. That's the only place I'm making money. And so making sure that we have an inventory count on a weekly basis and also making sure that we're looking at the numbers. Like it's not rocket science. If I know that I should be running at an 80% margin, or I mean
Mhm.
that's high, I'm just using that for an example, and my inventory, if my sales have gone up, my order should go up, right? But it should be within a range. And so if my numbers are skyrocketing, all of a sudden, like, hey, I got a ton more sales, but also my orders are going through the roof. Well, that's because there's either super heavy pours or there's plenty of giving away happening. Now, I'm not opposed to helping my bartenders make money, but they have to
Yeah.
be doing it within a certain scope, right? And so it's like, hey, let's just be mindful of this. It's not money out of your pocket, it's out of my pocket. And the only way I can catch that is if I'm looking at the numbers on a consistent basis. So waiting a month to a quarter to the end of the year, it doesn't help that. So again, I'm not saying to make decisions based on weekly numbers, but to know your trends. Like I know how much we're making weekly. So I know how much we should be ordering weekly. I know that we're an Irish bar. I know St. Patrick's Day is coming up. I know my order is going to be higher. I know what I'm anticipating my sales to be. And so when people lose sight of inventory and the metrics, I do think they go down a slippery slope. Like, oh, we'll make it up, or what's in the bank account is all that matters. And that's where I kind of cringe. Ugh. So between real estate and looking at the metrics, I think are the two things that people can do to really help themselves.
How important are experts when you're setting up your business? You obviously engaged with F3 and Dan Diaz and the team. Why did you choose them, and what other experts have you used in your business?
I mean, Dan and his team are amazing in many aspects, but I mean, you go from somebody who's been in the industry, right? So Dan started off in the industry and then went into this role. So being able to know of things that I didn't even realize, everything from the failover, the safes, all of a sudden I'm using a POS system that's very cloud based. Well, what if my internet goes down? The simple things like, hey, making sure you have a failover safe to make sure that you're capturing the data, you're not going to lose all that. Making sure that my internet is good to go from because I have 3 stories, right? And making sure that the networking in the, we're using Toast, so making sure that the install on the
Hmm.
menu was correctly done because now I'm not having to do a whole bunch of self install, which again, I'm fairly smart guy. I could probably figure it out, but why? It saved
Yeah.
me time and money to have F3 come out and do it. And somebody says, oh, you could have saved money by doing it yourself. But then I lost money because I could have been doing something else to make myself more.
Yeah.
Like I'm an accountant by day. I can make more money doing a tax return than I can ever cutting my own grass or installing my own
Cutting
network.
your so you don't cut your own grass?
No, and I justified all the time with this one because it costs me $40 a week to cut the grass. $40 times four is
Uh,
160. I can charge anywhere from $300 to $500 a tax return. I'll just pick up an extra tax return once a month to pay for
yeah.
that bill.
I'm with you. Opportunity cost. I tried I tried miserably to try to cut my own grass when we bought our first home, and I did it twice, and I was like, maybe I'm not a man, but I can't spend my time doing this because my it's
Same thing with Dan. He's an expert in that field. You go do this. I'm going to go do something to make up for the money that I need to pay you to do this.
that's awesome. How do you do media, social media? How do you believe in it? What do you do?
I am a big fan. Before I even started with the bar, I had ran a really small sports bar promotion company back when I was like 20 years old, and it
Awesome.
was called Drunken Bear. I went around the Midwest putting on beer pong tournaments, and then the
Sweet.
winners, we flew them out to Las Vegas and they competed in the World Series of beer pong. And back
Wow.
then, I wanted the website idea. It was very similar to what the Chive became: funny
Hmm.
videos, hot girls, like just driving traffic. And I never could stop the idea of wanting funny videos. So to this day, even at Twisted Shamrock, we spend a lot of time and effort on videos, not only from a TikTok to Instagram to
Wow.
Reels. And we're like, yo, we need to grow our media platform because that's how people are going to find us, especially if they're coming into Midway, they're staying in Wintrust or these. We want them to be able to find us. And so we spend money every month on figuring out how to have digital advertising. Right. And so when you're talking about the storytelling, that's what we're doing too, because we're storytelling. How does a bartender make the drink? Funny bloopers. We've signed up with Geeks Who Drink for their Jeopardy Bar League. And it's, we're creating our own Jeopardy funny skits like SNL did.
That's awesome.
Right. And we're just saying, okay, some people, what's the point? Engagement, awareness, getting people on our platform, getting followers, making people want to engage with us so they could say like, oh, what are these idiots doing this time? And so now we're cross promoting with the local businesses. We have a restaurant coming in with us. We have Dan showing up on the show with us.
Yep.
We have a local celebrity like a music artist that's going to show up on us. And so we're using our platform to collaborate with
Mhm.
other small business like-minded people so that we can keep engaging in small business in locality. We want the money spent locally. And so how do we keep doing that? By keep creating this atmosphere. That's how we look at it, at least.
What's the deal with Malort?
It's the greatest drink out there. You need some? We'll send you some.
Dan sent me some.
You should. I mean, you talk about a fine dining experience. Like a lot of people by us will just sip on that. We're like, hey, you want a glass of Pinot? No, just give us a glass of Malort. I'm like, okay.
Okay. And that's a Chicago thing.
That's Chicago handshake is an old style and a Malort. Dan is probably more known for giving a Malort shout out than anybody I know. I think he carries Malort in his car with him at all times, just so when
Yeah.
he shows up someplace, he's like, hey, you got to take a shot. I'm pretty sure that our partnership started with him making me take a shot of Malort, but because I'm from Chicago, I already knew it. I'm like, all right, I've taken so many of these that doesn't phase me.
Yeah.
I'll still get like one of these. Dan has no reaction whatsoever.
Stone cold.
I'm pretty sure he likes it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he does too. How can people follow the pub? How can they learn more about Chicago EA?
Chicago EA is chicagoea.com. I like to brand myself as a business tax and financial services. So
Do you do you service clients outside of Illinois?
I would say 40% of my clientele is outside of the state of Illinois.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
it was amazing how that just they left the state, COVID happened, and they just went all over. I mean, everything from Washington, Oregon, California, Texas. I had some guy in Puerto Rico. Like I'm very tech savvy, meaning
That's
that like I've
awesome.
set everything up with technology, and so a virtual accounting firm I was doing before COVID happened, and so when
Sweet.
it actually happened, I just was able to maximize on it. So Chicago EA is a business architecture, tax strategist, and a financial liaison. So we take everything from doing the bookkeeping, the sales tax, to metrics, to then taking the bookkeeping to provide it into some type of financial statements. And then we can help you take that and get debt procurement, looking at SBA loans, looking at buying the buildings, then helping you set up structures and leases back and forth, to then ultimately doing all the tax returns and tax planning. And if you do have any type of tax controversy and resolution, we handle it all. So that is my day job, right? That's what got this all
Yep,
started. And then
for sure.
Twisted Shamrock Pub, we try to make that super easy. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Even this morning we had our marketing meeting to see what our numbers are up. And, we're trying to get to, like a 10,000, you know, following. We're not there yet. We took it over in 2023,
Hmm.
but we're slowly more engaging. And the better our videos get, the more likes we get, the faster it starts to grow exponentially. So we're excited for this year, especially with St. Patrick's Day coming up. It's going to be a big push for us.
That's awesome. If you guys are watching, join us for our live show every Wednesday, every Friday. It's called Rising Tides Live. It's a chance for you to tell us about your business. If you're are starting to become a content creator, if you're doing videos on the internet, we've got an incredible community. Every Wednesday, every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can go to betheshow.media/rising tides. If you want to connect with me, at Sean P. Walchef on all the platforms. Uh, how can people keep in touch with you?
I would say social media is the best way for Facebook, Instagram, even the
LinkedIn?
TikTok, LinkedIn. Yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Zenon
Yeah.
McHugh. LinkedIn.
Zenon, you're crushing on LinkedIn. I saw some videos. You're pumping them out.
I'm trying. That's I got to give all credit to Shane, our marketing guy. He even has
There
my
you go.
LinkedIn profile login. He's
Okay.
out there just pushing them out. So
It's
he's helping me in both realms. I get the Chicago EA side of it, and I get the Twisted side of it. Eventually there'll be another one. It just
that's
I got to
awesome.
start somewhere.
Well, I appreciate the time and look forward to hopefully seeing you in Chicago. We'll be out there for National Restaurant Association show. We go every year, bring a full media crew and Rising Tide crew. So
It's gonna be
hope
great.
hope
Dan's
to see
throwing a
you out
big
there.
ass party, so I can't wait
Big
to be
time.
there.
All right. Well, we
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you.